told her he was going to kill Biggie. She knew it was going to happen. She was purposefully not by her husband's side that night.
It's crazy to think that Lil Kim may have been one of the first people to sound the alarm about Diddy and even Biggie. But back in the day, nobody wanted to hear it. She dropped hints, made comments, and even flat out warned people that something wasn't right. Yet the industry laughed her off, brushing her aside as if she was just being dramatic. But what if she was right all along? What if her warnings weren't the rantings of a jealous rapper, but actual red flags that everyone ignored until it was too late? Today, more and more voices from inside the industry, people who were there, who saw what really went down, are starting to confirm the very things Lil Kim spoke about decades ago.
It happened, and she was told she had to lie about it. And guess what? That lie held up until that boy turned 18 and he started having ideas of what he wanted to do, what he inherited, because the paperwork was set up for Faith to not be able to receive $1 from Biggie's estate unless it was for little Christopher. And she only had one child with Christopher. The other children who required taking care of and feeding and all of that, all of them couldn't be fed off of Christopher Wallace's money. They weren't his kids. See how that works?
Suddenly, those old interviews and bitter comments don't sound so bitter anymore. They sound like pieces of a puzzle that's only now starting to come together. And the picture it paints isn't just shocking, it's disturbing. Because if Kim really knew the truth back then and tried to warn the world, the question becomes, why was she silenced? And what else is she still holding back?
How you feel about the people that say Biggie was asking for him coming to LA so soon after Tupac got killed, and him getting on the radio rapping Long Kiss Goodnight?
Man, you would get 100 people in the room, and out of the 100 people, probably 3 would say it was all right for Big to be in LA. 97% of those people would say he had no business in LA at that time. We all knew that. Why would Puff rent studio time? Come on, man, look. You gotta look at what people do, man. You know Pac just got killed. It ain't no kind of business Big was doing. Big couldn't even walk, he couldn't run. They was pushing him around in a wheelchair, brother.
Back in the mid-90s, Lil Kim was more than just another rapper trying to break through. She was part of Junior MAFIA, handpicked by Biggie himself, and she had a front row seat to everything happening around Bad Boy Records. From that position, she started saying things that made people uncomfortable. She hinted that Diddy wasn't the loyal, supportive figure he portrayed himself to be, and she voiced frustrations about how things were being handled behind the scenes. Kim even called out the way Puffy treated her, saying he cared more about what he could get from people than what he could give back. At the time, these comments didn't make headlines the way scandals do today. Instead, she was dismissed as emotional, jealous, or simply exaggerating. But the truth is, Kim's warnings weren't just about her own situation. She was also pointing out shady moves surrounding Biggie, including decisions that would later be called reckless at best, or sinister at worst. And while most fans shrugged her off back then, the fact that she was bold enough to question Diddy publicly in an era when almost nobody dared to do so makes those early warnings all the more powerful today. Lil Kim's connection to Diddy was built through Biggie, who introduced her to Puffy after forming Junior MAFIA, and for a while, it seemed like she was destined to be one of Bad Boy's biggest stars. But despite their friendship, and the fact that Kim was already proving herself as a force in hip-hop, Diddy never signed her to his label. Why? According to Kim, Diddy flat out told her she didn't have what it took, claiming female rappers couldn't really sell records, and that she was too pretty to rap. It was a backhanded insult wrapped in fake compliments, and it stung even more because Kim was already proving him wrong. Her debut album, Hardcore, sold over 1 million copies and made her one of the most successful female rappers of her era. Yet Diddy still refused to back her. Instead, he positioned himself as a gatekeeper, holding her close enough to benefit from her association. but never giving her the platform or resources he extended to male rappers under Bad Boy. To many, it looked like jealousy or control. Diddy seemed unwilling to let Kim shine in her own right, as if he knew her success could rival the artists he was banking on. Even Kim herself later admitted that Diddy always put himself first, and she grew increasingly frustrated with the way he treated her compared to the loyalty she showed him. And while at the time fans didn't think much of it, looking back now, it feels less like a business decision and more like deliberate sabotage. Because if Diddy truly believed in female artists the way he claimed, Lil Kim should have been his first major female star. But instead, she became an example of how he underestimated and dismissed talent that could have transformed his empire. Things only got worse when Lil Kim's life took a devastating turn in 2005, as she was sentenced to prison for perjury after refusing to snitch on friends in a federal case. This was the moment when true loyalty should have shown itself, and many expected Diddy, her friend, mentor, and former manager, to step up. But according to Kim, he didn't lift a finger. While Oprah Winfrey sent her books and heartfelt letters, and designer Marc Jacobs wrote to her every single day, Diddy gave her nothing. Not a visit, not a letter, not even a phone call. Kim said he didn't even put a single dollar in her commissary, leaving her to realize just how disposable she had become to someone she once considered family. To make matters worse, she later revealed that Diddy didn't even give her a direct number to reach him while she was locked up, essentially cutting her off completely during her lowest point. For Kim, the betrayal was unforgettable. It wasn't about money or status. It was about respect, love, and loyalty. And by abandoning her when she needed him most, Diddy proved that his relationships were transactional, built on what he could gain, never on genuine care. While Kim was sitting behind bars, cut off from the world, and abandoned by the very man she thought had her back, Diddy was busy aligning himself with the next rising star, Nicki Minaj. At the time, Nicki was just breaking into the industry, but Diddy saw her potential and jumped at the chance to be part of her come-up. The move felt like a knife in Kim's back, especially since Nicki's image and style were often compared to Kim's own blueprint. To make things worse, Nicki threw subliminal shots at Kim in her lyrics while Diddy stood behind her, co-signing the feud instead of shutting it down. Fans couldn't help but notice the hypocrisy. The same man who said Kim didn't have what it took to be a star was now backing another female rapper whose career was being built on a foundation Kim helped create. When asked about the situation, Diddy tried to play it cool, claiming he loved and respected both women but that his business was with Nicki now. To outsiders, it was obvious. Diddy had replaced Kim without hesitation, using her legacy as a stepping stone to launch Nicki into the spotlight. And for Kim, who had once been Bad Boy's queen, the betrayal wasn't just professional, it was deeply personal. She had given years of loyalty, but the moment she was down, Diddy moved on to someone new, proving once again that for him, loyalty was always one-sided. As if abandoning her during prison wasn't enough, Lil Kim later revealed that Diddy actively blocked some of the biggest opportunities of her career. Opportunities that could have taken her to an entirely different level of success. One shocking example was Sisqó's smash hit Thong Song. Kim was supposed to be featured on the track, but Diddy reportedly told her to play hard to get, and because of that advice, the chance slipped through her fingers. Even more devastating was what happened with Michael Jackson. Producer Rodney Jerkins confirmed that Michael was blown away by Kim's sound and wanted her on his album. For any artist, especially in the late 90s, that kind of co-sign from the king of pop could have been life-changing. But when Jerkins and Kim approached Diddy, her manager at the time, nothing ever came of it. Kim later admitted she didn't fully understand what was going on behind the scenes, but looking back, she believes Diddy may have intentionally sabotaged those opportunities, whether it was control, ego, or fear that she might outshine others in his circle. The result was the same. Kim's path to superstardom was cut short, and the more stories came out, the clearer it became that Diddy wasn't just neglecting her. He might have been holding her back on purpose. Not long before his death, Biggie was reportedly preparing to leave Bad Boy and secure a massive $62 million contract that would have given him full control over his publishing, marketing, and a new label of his own. According to Gene Deal, who was close to Big, this wasn't just talk. He actually saw the paperwork and heard Biggie say he was finally about to build something bigger than Diddy. That revelation sparked rumors that Biggie's death in Los Angeles was no random tragedy, but the result of calculated moves to protect Bad Boy's empire. Diddy has always denied any involvement, and Biggie's then-wife Faith Evans even defended him, saying their bond was too strong for such accusations to be true. But others in the industry weren't convinced. Some pointed to the strange decisions surrounding Biggie's trip to LA, questioning why he was brought there despite tensions on the West Coast. Others speculated that Diddy stood to benefit more from Biggie gone than alive, since his legacy would continue to generate millions under Bad Boy. For Lil Kim, who was close to both men, watching the fallout must have been haunting, because if she had doubts about Diddy before, Biggie's death only deepened the shadows. In the aftermath of Biggie's death, Lil Kim's voice noticeably quieted, and that silence has long raised eyebrows. Rumors suggest that Diddy personally warned her not to speak out, pressuring her to stay in line and avoid saying anything that could point fingers in his direction. For years, Kim avoided directly accusing anyone, instead dropping subtle hints in interviews about how Diddy mistreated people and only looked out for himself. Fans who followed her career closely began piecing things together, realizing that someone as outspoken as Kim wouldn't have stayed this quiet unless there was real fear behind it. After all, she was there during the most crucial years of Bad Boy. She saw Biggie's rise, she witnessed the behind-the-scenes politics, and she knew what went on when the cameras were off. Some believe Diddy used his power and influence to keep her from telling everything she knew, which could explain why her comments always stopped short of outright exposure. But as time passed and Diddy's empire began to crack under new allegations, people started to wonder if Kim's silence was finally coming to an end, and if the truths she held back could completely rewrite hip-hop history. Fast forward to today, and suddenly, Lil Kim's old words don't sound bitter or exaggerated anymore. They sound prophetic. With more and more insiders like Gene Deal, Jaguar Wright, and other former associates speaking out against Diddy, fans are beginning to revisit Kim's interviews and realizing she was ahead of the curve. Everything she hinted at, the betrayals, the shady business, the reckless decisions, are now being echoed by others who were there. And as Diddy faces new scrutiny, Kim's credibility has only grown stronger. For years, she was painted as dramatic or jealous, but now it seems she was simply telling the truth before anyone was ready to hear it. That shift has made people pay closer attention to her, wondering if she's sitting on even more secrets about the Bad Boy era, Biggie's death, and Diddy's behind-the-scenes dealings. If Kim ever decides to open up fully, it could be explosive, not just for Diddy's legacy, but for hip-hop history as a whole. Because she isn't just another outsider speculating, she lived it. She was in the room, and she saw the moves being made. And while she stayed quiet for decades, the fact that she's still here, still watching, and still dropping subtle truths has fans convinced that one day she might finally say it all. And when she does, the industry may never look the same again. Looking back, it's clear that Lil Kim's story was never just about personal grudges or industry politics. It was about survival in an environment where power often outweighed loyalty. From being dismissed by Diddy in her prime, to being abandoned during prison, to watching her biggest career opportunities vanish without explanation, Kim carried wounds that the public only recently began to understand. And when you connect those dots to the larger narrative surrounding Biggie's death and the long-running rumors about Diddy's control, it paints a picture that feels less like coincidence and more like a pattern. The irony is that the very warnings people laughed at in the 90s are the ones resurfacing today as chilling reminders of what she tried to say all along. The question now isn't whether Lil Kim knew the truth. It's whether she'll finally speak it in full. Because if she does, it won't just be another celebrity interview. It could be the unraveling of a legacy that's been untouchable for decades. Until then, all we're left with is speculation, whispers, and a haunting question. Was Lil Kim silenced to protect an empire? And is she finally ready to expose it all?